It was evening when Olga headed home. As they were saying goodbye to each other, James looked at his watch and saw that it was too late for her to go alone. "Olga, let me drop you home," he offered. James drove her to her house. She kissed him and got out of the car. "Thank you, lovely," James said and drove off. Olga entered the apartment and found Maggie and Rolla waiting for her. The three friends gathered in the living room while Olga recounted what had happened with James at his villa. Maggie joked and mocked her. "My baby isn't grown up yet. Tell me, you'll never do it before marriage." She laughed, and so did Raula. Olga felt like they weren't understanding her feelings. "Guys, I'm just trying to stay away from trouble. I can't ruin my life for a man." Maggie listened carefully and added, "No, Olga, it's not ruining your life. You're old enough to enjoy your life. You can use protection if you don't want trouble, but I can't promise you that you'll keep this man if you can't give him the only thing he needs to be happy. You get what I'm saying? There are girls out there who are ready to do anything for him. They would give it to him whenever he wanted." Olga was tired of their advice and headed to her room, but the thoughts of what her friends told her kept popping up in her mind. What if someone comes into his life and gives him everything? What if James leaves me because of that? Olga lay on her bed, feeling conflicted and unsure. She couldn't shake off the words of her friends, each one echoing in her mind like a relentless drumbeat. Despite her resolve to avoid trouble and focus on her own path, doubts crept in, fueled by fears of losing James to someone who might offer him everything she couldn't. As she stared at the ceiling, thoughts swirled around her, wrestling with her values, desires, and insecurities. The comfort of her room felt suffocating, trapping her in a whirlwind of uncertainty. Deep down, Olga knew she needed to confront her fears and challenge her friends' perspectives. But for now, in the quiet solitude of her room, she allowed herself a moment to simply feel and acknowledge the complexity of her emotions, without judgment or haste. At James' villa, his car was parked, and then he headed directly to his study. He had a lot to accomplish before midnight. As he was sitting in his study, lost in his work, he heard his phone ring. It was Jocelyn. "Hey, Joss. How are you?" Jocelyn, with a hint of curiosity, asked, "I'm fine, honey. I called your office and they said you didn't go there the whole day. Is everything okay?" James had to make sure she didn't suspect a thing, so he replied with a weak voice, "I'm fine. I just felt a little headache. The doctor said I was overwhelmed, so I had to take a day off. But you didn't tell me, James. You were at home the whole day, but you didn't even talk to me." James excused himself. "Joss, I told you I had a headache. The doctor prescribed some medicine to help me rest. I slept for around 9 hours. When I woke up, I came directly to work in the study." "It's okay, James. I understand. I'm also heading to work. We'll talk later." Sat back in his chair, feeling a pang of guilt as he ended the call with Jocelyn. He couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling that lingered in his mind. Despite his reassurances to Jocelyn, he knew that Jocelyn was hiding something from him. He leaned back to his chair and said, "I hope she hasn't found out yet." Olga's words from earlier that evening echoed in his thoughts, adding to his inner turmoil. He glanced around his study, the walls adorned with achievements and memories, yet tonight they seemed to mock him. He reached for his phone again, hesitating, before dialing Olga's number. As it rang, he wondered what he was expecting to achieve with the call. Would it ease his guilt? Or would it only complicate things further? Olga's voice answered, breaking his train of thought. "Hey, James, is everything all right?" she asked, concern evident in her tone. James paused for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "Yeah, Olga, I just wanted to check in. I appreciate everything you did for me today, and I wanted to make sure you're okay." Olga's reply was quiet, almost hesitant. "I'm fine, James. Just dealing with some stuff. Thank you too for loving me." They exchanged a few more words before ending the call, but James couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. He knew he needed to confront his own feelings and the tangled web of lies he'd spun. But for now, he buried himself in his work, hoping to find solace in the familiar rhythm of his responsibilities. As the night deepened, Olga tossed and turned in her bed, unable to find solace in sleep. Her mind churned with thoughts of James, her friend's words, and the uncertainty of their future together. She longed for clarity, for a sign that would guide her through the labyrinth of her emotions. With a sigh, Olga reached for her phone, scrolling through old messages and photos of her and James. Each memory stirred conflicting emotions within her, a bittersweet reminder of the love they shared and the obstacles they faced. In the dim light of her room, Olga's thoughts drifted back to James's villa, to the tender moments they shared, and the doubts that lingered beneath the surface. She couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that their relationship was built on shaky ground, teetering on the edge of something fragile and fleeting. But amidst the doubts and fears, there remained a glimmer of hope, a flicker of love that refused to be extinguished. Olga clung to that hope, letting it guide her through the darkness of uncertainty. Meanwhile, James found himself lost in a sea of guilt and confusion. Despite his best efforts to bury his doubts, they clawed their way back to the surface, gnawing at his conscience like a relentless beast. He knew he couldn't continue living a lie. Not with Jocelyn, not with himself. The weight of his deception bore down on him, threatening to suffocate him beneath its crushing weight. With a heavy heart, James made a decision that would change everything. He reached for his phone once more, his fingers trembling as he dialed Jocelyn's number. "Hey, Joss," he began, his voice tinged with resignation. "There's something I need to tell you." As the words spilled from his lips, James felt a wave of relief wash over him, lifting the burden of his secrets and setting him free. It was a small step, but it was a step towards truth, towards honesty, and towards a future untainted by deceit. And as he hung up the phone, James knew that there would be challenges ahead, obstacles to overcome, but he also knew that he wasn't alone, that Olga was there, waiting for him, ready to face whatever came their way, together. In the stillness of the night, amidst the echoes of their confessions, Olga and James found a newfound sense of peace, a glimmer of hope that illuminated the path ahead, guiding them towards a love that was stronger, deeper, and more resilient than they ever imagined possible. Maggie and Raula were still talking in the living room, joking about their stuff, when Raula's phone popped up with a message. She tapped to open it and saw a short clip of her mother. She was so frightened and started shaking. Maggie, who saw the reaction of her friend, got closer to check on her. "Are you okay, Raula? What is it?" Raula handed over the phone to Maggie. "Look, I think it's one of the men I used to work for." Maggie didn't know what to do at the time. "Let me guess. Whoever sent this wants to threaten you with your mother's death." Raula's voice couldn't come up, so she nodded her head in agreement. Maggie stood up, her mind overwhelmed by the sudden change in the situation as she tried to make sense of everything. "Raula, think. Have you angered someone or maybe taken their things and now they're looking for you?" But before Raula could say anything, her phone rang. She picked up and heard the voice of a man on the other side of the call. "You have only 10 minutes to be out of your house with your two stupid friends, and if you don't or try to call the police, your mother will die." Raula was dumbfounded. She stood up, scratching her hair, contemplating what to do. "I just came into your life. Now look at the trouble I am causing." Sitting down on the floor, tears falling from her cheeks, she said, "I think I have to let them kill her. I can't put you in trouble when I don't even know if she will get better. No, Raula, we can't let that happen to you. You know she's the only family you've got. And besides, we don't really know if it's you they want. Maybe you were the easy target to get us. Baby, stop crying and think. Why would they tell you to go with us if it's you they really want? I think there's something we are missing out on. And we can't call the police. What do we do? Maggie, they gave us 10 minutes. We've already wasted 4 of 10. Let's tell Olga. They rushed upstairs to Olga's room and barged in. Olga jolted up in fear. Can't you just knock, ladies? Where are your manners? Looking into their eyes, she noticed something unusual. They were frightened and held on to urgency. Ladies, please, pull yourselves together and tell me what's going on. Olga, someone will kill Raula's mother if we don't do what he says. Maggie handed over Raula's phone to Olga. Look, we received this message first. Then we got a call from an unknown number saying that we have 10 minutes to come down and stand at the road junction or else she dies. Olga thought for a moment and murmured, I think I know what's going on. She stood up, looked through the window, and couldn't see anyone suspicious. She took her phone from the bed drawer, but Maggie took it from her before she could make a call. Olga, maybe we didn't tell you, but they said that if we call the police or do anything stupid, we will pay for it. We don't have any other choice but to go. Olga didn't know what decision to make and instructed others. Girls, go to your rooms and put on something warm because we don't know what awaits us. Take something we can use to save ourselves. Be a needle, a scissor, or razor blades. I mean anything helpful but easier to hide. Then we will go. I need to tell James. Let's meet in the living room in a minute. Olga directly called James after the two went to do what they were told. The phone rang, but no one picked it up. She called again but got the same response. James wasn't picking up. She had to leave a voicemail. With urgency in her tone, she started narrating what happened. James, someone wants us to go and meet him, or he kills. Before she could finish talking, she heard Maggie's voice. Olga, he called again, saying we have 1 minute left or she dies. Please come down. Olga stopped talking, and they ran downstairs to join her friends. They locked their apartment, then left. It took only a minute after entering the main road before a black van pulled down. 3 men wearing black and masks came out of the van and said in a commanding voice, Your phones now. The girls gave them their phones, but by that time they realized that things were more serious than they thought. Those men brought a jug full of water and dropped the girls' phones into the water. Another man came from the driver's seat with a metal detector and started checking if they happened to have anything that could ruin their plans. Checking Maggie, the man laughed. You've tried, but this cannot work. He searched her coat, then found a razor blade. Throwing it away, he checked Olga too. The detector found nothing, and the man muttered, good girl, then went to check on Raula. Let me hope my friend here did not try to be a genius. As he scanned, something in her pants made the detector sound an alarm. Let's see what you have got. The man leaned forward to check her pocket. Raula was shaking when he found a needle inside her pocket. So you plan to surprise us first? Well, I am sorry to disappoint. He threw away the needle and told the other 3 men, Lead the girls inside the van. We're leaving. The van left, leaving the dead phones on the street. Inside James's study office, he was busy working. He had put his phone in silent mode to avoid disruption. It was around midnight when he finished what he was doing. Feeling tired, he stood up, leaving his phone on the table and went to have a shower. After taking a bath, he wanted to sleep directly, but remembered his phone was out of battery and wanted to put it on a charger before he nodded off. Taking a face towel from the hanger, he wiped water droplets off his face as he headed to his study. James reached for his phone and noticed several missed calls and a voicemail notification. Curious, he listened to the voicemail from Olga. In the voicemail, Olga did not finish what she was saying. She replayed it again. James, someone wants us to go and meet him or he kills. But he heard a voice calling, Olga! Olga! He called again, saying we have 1 minute left or she dies. Please come down. his heart sinking as he realized the gravity of the situation. Quickly, he dialed Olga's number, but there was no answer. Thinking of what to do next in this situation with his hands trembling, he dialed Nick's number, but after several calls he did not pick up. As panic rose, he went to his room, put on simple clothes, grabbed his keys, and rushed out of the door, knowing he had to find them before it was too late. He drove at a very high speed, trying to offer help as soon as possible, cursing himself. Why did I have to put my phone in silent mode? He was regretting not picking up Olga's call. James, fueled by desperation, raced through the streets, his mind consumed with thoughts of rescuing the girls. He couldn't lose them. Not now. Not ever. He murmured, "Wait for me, Olga. I'll do everything in my power to save you." In minutes, he parked in front of Olga's apartment building, pressing the elevator button. Gosh, it's taking forever. Seeing that he couldn't wait for the elevator to come, he used the stairs. Finally, he was at the girl's apartment door knocking, but no one came to open it. He tried to push the door, but nothing worked. The door was closed. The phone in his pocket rang. It was Nick. "Nick, where were you? Do I have to call you a million times for you to pick up?" Nick, realizing the urgency in his boss's tone, apologized. "I am very sorry, boss. I did not hear it. Did something happen? Nick, come quickly. I am at the girl's apartment. 5 minutes and tell the Hawkins security to get ready. I will need them." Meanwhile, inside the van, the atmosphere was tense as the girls sat in silence, fear gripping their hearts. Rola couldn't stop trembling, her mind racing with thoughts of her mother's safety. Maggie and Olga exchanged worried glances, both feeling helpless in the face of the unknown threat. As the van continued down the dark streets, Raula's thoughts drifted to her mother, and she was praying silently for her safety. She couldn't bear the thought of losing her, especially in such a senseless and terrifying way. Suddenly, the van came to a halt, and the men ordered the girls out. They found themselves in a deserted alley, surrounded by towering buildings casting eerie shadows in the dim moonlight. The men led them into a rundown warehouse, where a figure awaited them in the shadows.